Have you ever sat down with every intention of getting something important done, only to find yourself checking your phone, staring out the window, or reading the same sentence over and over again? A few minutes turn into an hour, and somehow the day slips away without you noticing. It feels frustrating because you know you're capable of more. You tell yourself that tomorrow will be different, but tomorrow looks exactly like today. The strange part is that your lack of focus isn't usually caused by laziness. Most of the time, it's something much quieter, something hiding beneath the surface that steals your attention before you even realize it's happening. Many people believe that focus is something you either have or you don't. They think highly productive people wake up every morning full of motivation and simply force themselves to work harder. But Japanese culture has spent centuries looking at concentration from a completely different perspective. Instead of treating focus as a battle of willpower, it treats focus as the natural result of designing your environment, your habits, and even your thoughts in a way that makes distraction less attractive. Modern neuroscience is beginning to support this idea. Research from University College London has shown that repeating small behaviors in consistent situations gradually makes them automatic, reducing the mental effort required to begin a task. In other words, your brain prefers systems over constant self-control. Before we go deeper, there's one idea that surprises almost everyone. It isn't the longest habit or the most difficult practice that changes everything. It's a small principle that many people overlook because it seems too simple to matter. Yet once you understand it, you'll start noticing why some people can stay deeply focused for hours while others struggle to concentrate for just 10 minutes. And the most unexpected part is that it has almost nothing to do with working harder. One of the oldest Japanese ideas connected to focus begins with ma, a word that describes meaningful space rather than empty space. In traditional Japanese architecture, tea ceremonies, and gardens, empty areas are never considered wasted. They give everything else room to breathe. Your brain works in much the same way. Every notification, every open browser tab, every unnecessary object on your desk competes for a small piece of your attention. Neuroscientists have found that visual clutter increases the amount of information your brain must process, making it harder for the prefrontal cortex to stay locked on one goal. Instead of adding another productivity app, try removing one distraction before you begin working. Clear your desk, silence unnecessary notifications, and leave only what you need for the next task. You'll notice that your mind becomes quieter almost immediately, and that quiet prepares you for the next secret. Another powerful idea comes from Kaizen, often translated as continuous improvement. Most people know Kaizen as a business philosophy used by Japanese manufacturers, but its real power lies inside the human brain. When you promise yourself you'll work for 3 hours straight, your brain often responds with resistance because the goal feels overwhelming. That resistance activates stress responses that encourage avoidance instead of action. Researchers from Stanford University have repeatedly shown that breaking large goals into manageable steps increases follow-through because the brain experiences progress sooner. Instead of telling yourself to finish an entire project, commit to just 5 focused minutes. Ironically, those 5 minutes are often enough to carry you much further than expected, and they prepare you for an even deeper shift in how you think about attention. The next principle is known as Shoshin, often called the beginner's mind. Zen practitioners believe that beginners notice details experts sometimes overlook because they approach each moment with curiosity instead of assumption. Think about how children can spend an hour completely absorbed by something adults barely notice. Their attention isn't stronger because they're more disciplined. It's stronger because they're genuinely curious. Psychologists have found that curiosity activates dopamine pathways associated with learning and sustained engagement. Instead of asking yourself how quickly you can finish a task, ask yourself what new detail you might discover while doing it. That small change transforms work from an obligation into an exploration, making focus feel far more natural than forced. Here's something that many people never realize. Your attention is constantly shaped by invisible decisions you made hours earlier. Sleep matters, nutrition matters, and movement matters, but so does the emotional state you carry into your work. If your mind is filled with unfinished conversations, unresolved worries, or constant self-criticism, those thoughts quietly consume mental resources in the background. A study published by researchers at Harvard found that wandering thoughts occupy a significant portion of our waking lives, often reducing both happiness and performance. Your brain cannot fully concentrate on the present while it's fighting invisible battles from the past or worrying about the future. One Japanese practice reflects this understanding through Misogi, originally associated with purification rituals. While modern versions are often symbolic, the lesson remains powerful. Before asking your mind to perform at its best, clear away unnecessary emotional noise. That doesn't require an hour of meditation. Sometimes it's as simple as writing down every distracting thought on a piece of paper before you begin working. Once those thoughts exist outside your head, your brain no longer has to keep rehearsing them. This simple ritual creates a sense of mental closure that makes concentration easier than relying on willpower alone. If what you're hearing is already changing the way you think about focus, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss future videos. Small ideas like these have a way of creating big changes over time, especially when you actually put them into practice instead of simply collecting more information. The biggest mistake most people make is believing that focus is built during the moment of work. In reality, focus begins long before you sit at your desk. It begins with the environment you create, the expectations you set, the distractions you remove, and the tiny decisions you repeat every single day. The hidden Japanese secret isn't about becoming someone with superhuman discipline. It's about making concentration the easiest option available. And once you understand the next principle, you'll see why the strongest form of focus has less to do with controlling your mind and more to do with protecting your energy before distractions ever have a chance to appear. The next idea is called Ikigai, a concept often described as having a reason to get up in the morning. Many people think of it as finding a perfect career or a grand purpose, but in everyday life, it can be much smaller than that. Before starting any task, ask yourself one simple question: why does this matter today? Your brain is far more willing to stay engaged when it understands the meaning behind the effort. Researchers at the University of Rochester have found that people who connect their actions to personal values show greater persistence and motivation than those driven only by external rewards. When your work has a clear purpose, distractions begin to lose some of their power because your attention finally has something worth protecting. Another quiet lesson comes from the Japanese appreciation of not only as physical space but also as mental space. Most people jump from one task to another without giving their brain time to reset. They answer an email, check a message, scroll through social media, and then expect to instantly focus on meaningful work. But your attention doesn't switch that quickly. Every unfinished thought leaves a small trace behind. Cognitive psychologists call this the attention residue effect, where part of your mind remains attached to the previous activity. Instead of rushing into the next task, spend 1 minute doing nothing. Take a slow breath, look away from the screen, and allow your thoughts to settle. That short pause creates a clean beginning, and clean beginnings often lead to deeper concentration. There is another Japanese principle that many people overlook because it appears almost invisible. It is Kanso, the idea of simplicity. In traditional Japanese design, unnecessary decoration is removed so only what truly matters remains. Your daily schedule deserves the same treatment. Many people confuse being busy with being productive, filling every hour with meetings, notifications, and endless to-do lists. The brain doesn't measure productivity by how many tasks you touch. It measures progress by how many important tasks you complete. Instead of writing 20 goals for the day, choose the one task that will make everything else easier. Protect it with your best energy, and let the smaller tasks wait until later. The deeper truth is that distractions are rarely the real problem. They are often a symptom. Sometimes you avoid a task because you're afraid it won't be good enough. Sometimes you keep checking your phone because your brain is searching for an easy reward. Sometimes you stay busy with small jobs because they feel safer than the work that actually matters. A study from the University of California, Irvine found that frequent interruptions dramatically increase the time needed to return to deep concentration. Yet many of those interruptions begin with a choice you make yourself. The more honestly you understand why you escape your work, the easier it becomes to stop escaping. One of the most meaningful Japanese ideas is Zanshin, often translated as remaining mind. In traditional martial arts, it describes staying fully present even after an action is complete. It is not about tension. It is about quiet awareness. Imagine finishing one paragraph, one drawing, or one important email without immediately reaching for your phone. Instead, remain with your work for a few more moments. Review it, notice what comes next, and continue without breaking your attention. This trains your brain to stay connected instead of constantly searching for the next distraction. Over time, focus begins to feel less like effort and more like your natural state. Many people spend years looking for the perfect productivity system while ignoring the habits they repeat every single day. They buy another notebook, another app, another course, hoping that the next tool will finally solve the problem. But no system can replace a calm mind. No planner can create clarity if your environment is filled with noise. The Japanese approach reminds us that extraordinary results are usually built from ordinary actions repeated with intention. The smallest habit, practiced consistently, often changes more than one dramatic burst of motivation ever could. Here's the hidden secret that ties everything together. Unbreakable focus is not something you force. It is something you protect. Every distraction you remove, every unnecessary commitment you decline, every quiet morning you preserve, and every intentional pause you take becomes another layer of protection around your attention. Eventually, staying focused stops feeling difficult because you've stopped asking your brain to fight battles that never needed to exist in the first place. You don't need to apply every idea from this video tomorrow morning. Choose just one. Clear your workspace before you begin. Work for 5 focused minutes. Write down distracting thoughts. Protect the first hour of your day. One small action is enough. This is the heart of continuous improvement. A 1-degree change may seem invisible today, but repeated every day, it creates a completely different direction for your life. Remember, this was never about becoming a perfect person with endless discipline. It was about becoming someone who makes focus easier than distraction. Your attention is one of the most valuable things you own because it shapes what you learn, what you create, and ultimately who you become.